Hey guys, this is Paul from Smart Easy DIY. Today I wanted to talk to you about this fenced-in raised bed garden that I built. It is 24 feet by 24 feet. I'll be going into more details as the video goes along. So this is the lumber that I used. I built all the sides of the bed out of 2x8. This is just regular number 2 fir larch that you can get, anywhere pretty much. If you can, it would be better to use something like cedar or oak or something like that, but it's a lot more expensive and I don't have any of those available in my area. So for cost savings, I got this stuff. I didn't want to use any pressure treated wood in my garden because of the chemicals. Even if they say that it's okay to use, I still don't want that in my organic garden. So that's my personal opinion. So this product that I'm using to treat the wood is called Rugged Wood Treatment. It's an eco-safe, eco-friendly product that is safe to use with your garden. It's an organic, all-natural wood treatment that you can treat the wood with to help prolong the life of the wood. It may not treat the product as perfectly as regular pressure treated for ground contact, but it'll definitely help to prolong the life of the wood. I personally use it on a lot of my different projects that I've done, and I've been very happy with it. It'll give it a nice rustic grayish look when it's all done, which you can see in the video. I'll include a link down in the video description below the video where you can find this rugged wood treatment if you're interested in using it yourself. So the one other thing that's pretty cool is that it comes in a nice resealable bag. So if you don't use it all, you can save it for a future project as long as it stays in powder form. But I used a full 5 gallons on this build when I applied it very generously. If you check my recent videos, I've used it on a variety of other projects as well, and I really like it. Alright, so this is where the garden site is going to be. So I got it leveled out pretty good. That back corner is a little bit higher, but I think I can shovel it as I go. So there's different ways of doing this. The way I did it is I had a laser transit that I borrowed from work that I could use for this, which makes it really nice. You can also just use a level and do it that way. You can start with one corner as long as you know that your pad is pretty close, and then you can just level it off as you go around. So I showed the time lapse a little bit of me putting the first part together. This is 10 feet right here in the front, and it's going to be a 4-foot doorway right there. Then another 10 feet, that'll be 24 feet total going this way. It's going to be 24 as well. So I'm going to do 3 8-foot 2x8s. I figured I might as well do 8 foot because I'm going to be doing posts every 8 feet, so they'll splice right on the joint there. Also, you guys should check out my Instagram at SmartEasyDIY. I'm always doing some kind of DIY project, so you can follow me along on there if you want. Working along here, it rained all day today, but I'm getting some work done tonight now. So what I did is here started laying out. This is a full 10 foot here. Then I'm going to do 3 foot in between in the bed, and then I wanted this one to lap by. So this board is technically cut 1.5 inches under 8 feet. That way it's 8 feet right out to the end. What I'm doing for now is just putting a screw in these to hold them together flush on the top. The corners I screwed together because they're going to stay that way. The rest I'm just going to get it lined up sideways as I go along later, but for now I'm just getting elevation and getting it close. You can see they're not lined up perfectly, but I'm just fastening the tops for now. This corner over here was the highest one. Then what I did is I measured cross corner from that corner over there. I used a foundation squaring calculator. You can just do a Google search to find one, or I'll put a link down in the video description for you too. Just put in 24 by 24 feet or whatever size you're going to be overall, and it'll tell you exactly what your measurement should be across corner to be square. So temporarily I just put a stake in here to kind of hold it where it needs to go. All I'm trying to do for now is to get it close to square and get the elevation up and down correct on the bottom row. The laser transit that I'm using is really handy for a project like this. If you're going to be doing it in one whole day or a weekend and maybe make it worthwhile renting one, it could be something to consider. So I'm just going to keep going on around this corner and keep going to the outside perimeter. It's a new day. I've been working along here. It was raining quite a bit, so there's a little water standing around here making a mess. I put a little sawdust in this spot just to help absorb some of it. So by now I got the bottom layer done all the way around. I put some braces in the middle just temporarily to hold the spacing correctly. So I'm just getting this bottom row pretty straight sideways and then square, and then I'm going to put the second layer on top of that before I do anything else. What I've been doing with the second layer just to secure it for now is I put a screw in on the bottom, starting on the end, and then as I go down the side of that board, I screw the bottom end of that, then I just screw the next board in the top into that one, and I just keep going on down the line. Then when I put my cross pieces in and the corner posts, I can fasten it together really well. So the one thing I'm doing with the posts is I mixed up a little bit of the rugged wood treatment in a bucket, and then I'm just dipping them. Once I cut them, the fresh ends, it's a good idea to dip it in the solution, let it sit for a minute or so, and then it'll treat the ends just for an extra layer of protection. So I'm just doing these posts for now because they're going to be down in the ground where I can't get to them later. Alright, so I got 4 posts standing up there. So I decided I'm going to lay a bunch out and cut them ahead of time, lay them all out and get them set up. Then I'll do a time lapse here showing me putting them together. So what I do, since there's a little variation in the ground once you get everything in there, individually I went and put each post in place where it needs to go, and I made a mark right here so I had something to reference off of. So even if it ends up being a little lower than the boards are, because I put it down there and pack it really good so it stays better, then I have something to reference off of because they all vary a little bit. That way when I'm done, my elevation is correct for the upper part. So even if the bottom varies a little with the uneven ground, I just cut them accordingly. Because what I'm doing is 92 inches from the top of the bottom board to the top of the post. I think that's going to work out really well where my fence is going to overlap when I put the 2 rows of fence up. The reason I didn't put the posts in the ground is because all I have is rocks and I can barely drill a hole in the ground without a lot of effort. So I chose to do it this way, and it actually turned out very solid and very strong without needing any more bracing than what I did. So here it worked out really well just to use a level and get them nice and straight as I went along. I fastened them with screws. Once I was all set up and had them cut ahead of time, it was very easy to just put them in going down the row. These posts are 4x4s, 10 feet long. Okay, so I got the posts all in. You saw how I was fastening them. I'm using these GRK screws to put it all together. They're 3 1/8, number 10. They're about $70 to $80 for a container of these, but one container was plenty for this whole project. They're made for treated lumber. Even though I'm not using regular treated lumber, I still wanted them good for ground contact. So that's just to show you what I'm using. So next, what I'm going to do now that I got the posts in, I got my temporary supports in there just to keep the spacing correct. I'm going to do 2x4 to tie all these joints together. Then I'm going to do some permanent 2x8 across there from one side of the post to one side of the 2x. That way everything that's in the bed is done when I'm done with that. That really helps to make it a lot stronger in the middle too. So we have a neighbor that has a firewood processor where he gets lots of coarse sawdust. I got a truckload of it. He got a Bobcat right here so I can load it up, and it's been sitting for a couple years. So it's pretty broken down and composted pretty nicely. So I'm pretty stoked about that. We're going to be putting that in for most of the raised bed, and then maybe some topsoil just on top of that. So then I got the second truckload here. Got some of that unloaded in some of these beds last night, so we're making some good progress. So this time lapse, I just wanted to show you a little bit the process of putting the 2x4s on the sides. First, I put the ones on the very top, then the one that goes beside that on the top, then I put the middle one on. So I just kind of figured out a process that worked really well for me with minimizing having to move the ladder. I would put a screw in that one end to hold it, then fasten the other end. Then when I came back and do the next one, I fastened that second one. Then I put a row in the middle where the fencing is going to overlap. Then I put the bottom row of fencing on first, then put the top row of fencing on that, and then the 2 runs overlap on that middle 2x4. So that composted sawdust that we got, we filled the beds in about 6 inches from the top. Then we have some nice topsoil that we put in for the rest of it. We got some for our yard when we had to plant grass, and it's very nice stuff, but I took some of it for this. Nice, rich, black topsoil. Topsoil like this doesn't come from around here. We had to have it all hauled in. Some people that I saw put plastic in their beds so they can have the weeds and stuff not be a problem. But I wanted to make sure that the worms can get in from the bottom, from the existing ground, so I left mine just completely uncovered. On the door here on the front, what I decided to do, I'm going to leave it a full 4 feet wide so we can get stuff in and out very easily. The opening I made 7 feet tall. This is how I framed it out so it's even with the beds on the bottom. It was pretty dark to show when I was building the door, so I just made my door a 1/2 inch smaller than my opening all the way around. Then I put a 45 degree on each end of the 2x4s and made a frame that way. And then just decided to do a 45 cross brace in the bottom to keep it from sagging, and I think it looks really nice too. We waited on doing the fence last night because we thought it'd be easier to get the topsoil first in these outside beds. We also decided to wait on doing these inside beds until the topsoil was into the outside beds. But now I'm getting ready to build the inside beds as well. So these beds are 4 feet wide and 11.5 feet long. I made so there was 3 feet to walk in between the outer beds and the middle beds, and then in between each middle bed as well. So these 2x8 were 12 feet long that I had to get, which I'll include a complete material list in the video description down below the video. So this place that has the composted sawdust, they also had this nice bark mulch that was just here from when they're doing the firewood, like when the bark falls off. And I'm going to put that in between the beds so it's nice and dry to walk in between all the beds, and it'll look nice. And yeah, so it makes it very nice and clean and dry. So we just figured that would be a nice thing to put in between there. What we decided to use for the fence is 2 inch by 3 inch wire welded black vinyl coated fence from Home Depot. You can get it from Lowe's as well. So we got 4 rolls of the 4 foot wide by 50 feet long to cover all the sides. So I didn't get a good time lapse of putting the fence on, but we're doing the bottom row first and putting it on, trying to stretch it pretty tight by hand and stapling it about every 16 inches with galvanized staples. I wish they had black staples that were rated for outdoor that would match, but they don't, so I had to use galvanized. So the top row of fence is going to lap down over the bottom one, so I'm not stapling the joint in the middle quite as heavy when I first put the bottom row on, until once the top row is on and the fencing overlaps, then I can staple it heavier. And yeah, I didn't get much footage of getting the second row on, but as you can see, we got it all stapled on. So I'll leave a lumber list for you guys down in the video description of all the materials that I used and how much it cost. Also, check out the video description for where to find the rugged wood treatment if you want to use that to protect your garden as well. One thing that I love about the rugged wood treatment is that it is an organic product, so I don't have to worry about anything leaching into my soil and contaminating my plants. So I personally use it on a lot of projects and I love it. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope this video can give you some good ideas how you can build your own fenced-in raised bed garden if you want to. Let me know how your project goes if you do end up making one. And thanks a lot for watching, guys.